Welcome to this week's roundtable. This is the series that we do on as it relates to podcasting every last Monday of the month. And it goes live on the podcast every last Thursday of the month. So we get together, the three of us, and we talk about all of the things that we want to talk about in terms of podcasting and what we've seen in the industry, in the world of podcasting, and so on. And the intention and the goal in this is to bring it live to the community first and to have a fun conversation about podcasting. So welcome team, welcome ladies. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Yeah, we're
Be
excited.
here. I know, I'm so excited. You both joined me last month as well for our roundtable. If you could very quickly just introduce yourself to the podcast community in case anyone forgot to listen to the last one, which they shouldn't have, but in case they forgot. Go
Just in
ahead.
case.
Well, I am Sam. I am in marketing and operations for Volt, and I help with customer service and basically anything that Simona or anyone else needs in the membership. I am here to help.
Yep, amazing. And Emily?
I'm Emily, and I am the lead editor for Vault Productions. So I get to listen to everybody's wonderful episodes and edit and everything like that. And so I work very closely, especially with Simona, who gives me feedback and everything like that. So, and then Sam has also helped me tons creating graphics for videos and things like that. So
That's been amazing. So that's been the really cool shift that we've had within the agency over the last little bit is we started to prioritize the videos on YouTube and how do we make them a little bit more, exciting to watch? How do we make them a little bit more intricate and so on, so on. And, it's quote unquote easy to produce a video podcast if you're not adding much to it, but it definitely adds a way different depth to it if you are adding those things in. So it's been really cool to get to do that. And thanks, Emily, for all of that, because it's been awesome.
no problem.
You're welcome. Amazing. Okay, let's get into our conversation today. We're talking about community today, which I think is going to be a really important aspect of 2025 going into 2026 is the idea of creating community around what it is that you're doing. So whether it's your podcast, whether it is your private community that you might run, community in life in general, I think that the idea of community is something that's really important. And I don't know, I just think that it is because of how much the world has shifted. And I'd be curious to know from both of your point of views, is that a trend that you would anticipate for 2025 as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Community and the importance of community is only going to get bigger. Obviously, the online world has developed a lot, and people are looking for more personalized experiences. And the more, everything grows and everything just becomes kind of saturated, I guess, you want to have that more personalized touch. And community is exactly how you offer that.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Emily, any thoughts? Because Emily, and you're both individually part of so many different communities, like in and of yourselves, like your own personal interests aside of just what we do here in the agency. So curious from that point of view as well, how much community impacts the other things that you do as well. Podcasting too, but everything else as well.
I feel like I can't overstate how much I love being a part of communities that are active. Like when people are sharing creative ideas or even, I'm so sorry, my dogs are going nuts in the background.
Oh, you're fine.
Sorry, everybody. Well,
We're a very
Productions is
dog-friendly
also-
family in here, okay?
Well, Productions is also run by our dogs. Fun fact. And so, yeah, but when you are a part of, especially creative communities, because even when you're sharing projects that you're working on, if it's a craft project, art project, podcast project, something like that, hearing somebody else's ideas can just feed your own creativity so much that
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. And that's part of the reason why I like community so much. And then also on the other side of that, for things like arts and crafts, I'm just going to keep going back to arts and crafts, y'all. That's what I do most of my time.
I love it.
With small businesses and stuff like that, it's so nice to be able to connect with people on a one-on-one basis. And then you get to support each other. Like this past weekend, I literally went to the grand opening of a friend's little brick and mortar store. And I met her through doing community projects and stuff like that with a certain group. So it was it's a really fun full circle type thing. So that's where
That's so
I
fun.
really like community, is that I feel like the creativity that it introduces is really helpful.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And what would you say out of all of the reasons why you would belong to a community, what sticks out to you the most? Like what makes you feel like, I really belong here? Like what is it that piece that makes you feel you belong in someone's community?
For me, it's people who you can just relate to. They're going through the same things that you're going through. I'm a mom, I'm the mom of our group. And I can say, it's a lot different running a business or, working for a company and having kids and doing all these things and having that support system of people who get it, who are going through the exact same things. Obviously in the marketing world too, things are very different. They're constantly changing, and being a parent on top of that can be a lot. So I tend to connect with not just moms, but moms who do what I do. They're contractors, they're working marketing, they work on like online business with creatives. And so it's all about people who really understand what daily life is like for you. And that's what
Mm,
I look for in the communities that I'm a part of.
love that. Emily?
Yeah, I do feel like there needs to be some level of commonality between me and other people in the group, because if we're too far removed, and I'm not saying that
Mm,
everybody should be like one homogenous like chunk of people, but the more that you can have people who have some sort of basis of similar interest, whatever it is, then I think that that just strengthens the group, and you can like start more conversations off that too. Because
mm,
you may be exposed to people who at a baseline have a lot of things in common with you, but also may have things that are not in common with you, that expand how you think about things and expand, you know, your group of friends or your thoughts in general. So I feel like I need to have something in common with most of the people. That's why, like, especially when looking at like rules of groups,
mm.
it's really important to me to see like that's where they're going to post like their values. And if I don't align with those values, like straightforward, then that's not a place for me.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like those are the things, like I need to align with the values, but then I'm okay with like the personalities. You need to have lots of different personalities.
Mhm. That's a
So
really interesting piece too, because a lot of the times when you join someone's community, it can be very easy just to like gloss over the group rules or like make sure you accept the rules or whatever. But the rules that are set within a community are kind of shape the way in which it is run and the way in which people feel comfortable showing up, but also what you tolerate within your community, right? I think that's really important because I'll take it from like a podcast point of view because I joked around with both of you guys that like, I don't have any other interests other than business because everything I touch turns into a business. But I'm just kidding. But like, but some of the things that stand out to me though are like if you don't have the same values as someone, but you want me to be part and, be an active like member or contributor to whatever it is that you're creating, it has to align also with what I believe. And I think that's really important, right? And then from like a holistic point or like a bird's eye view, if you will, having a community or being part of a community, especially I'll take podcasting for example. For me, being part of a podcasting community right from the beginning allowed me to learn more and like learn faster, learn quicker and not have to just deal with all of these, speed bumps by myself and be surrounded by people who understand, like you're saying, Sam, the struggles that you go through on a day to day basis, right? You can apply it to any industry, you can apply it to any challenge in life, any topic of conversation that is spoken about in anything, right? It brings that sense of togetherness and that sense of understanding one another and like, oh, we're in it together and we will find a solution together because that's how you get to where you're going. And I think that if I was never part of a podcasting community, it makes it easier to give up. It makes it easier to not take that next step. It makes it easier to, just stay confused and to stay stuck and to stay, again, with a podcasting example, like not launching your podcast or not bringing on a guest for your podcast, not asking for that sponsorship because being in the right community gives you the confidence to know that you can do those things that feel scary and do those things that feel like they're like out of reach or out of touch.
and there's also so many times where you have resources within the community, whether it is
Yeah.
another person's knowledge or it's literally like the person who's running the group is providing tangible resources, downloadable resources, whatever it is, that
Mhm.
then it just accelerates and it adds to that confidence. Exactly. Like the confidence and also, potentially your, again, creativity and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Sam, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, it made me think of one of the very first groups that I ever really got into on Facebook, and I've been in it for years now, and it's Virtual Assistant Savvies. It still runs today,
Mm,
and
mhm,
that's where I got my first clients. It's where I really dipped my foot into working for myself when after my son was born, and I got to connect with all kinds of people, very different people who come from all over the world, and it's still such a like a diverse group. But I got to go in and get more personalized help with specific things that I needed help with, figuring out what kind of clients that I wanted. I learned a
mhm,
lot about what I didn't want and I didn't need on top of, learning. Because at first, when you start getting into these groups, you might not know where to start. And you might realize that once you start asking questions and getting to know people, you'll get into a direction you probably didn't realize you would. And this is a good thing with podcasting as well, because you might have this idea of exactly how you're going to do things or how you want your podcast to go or what kind of podcast you want to have, and you start having these conversations and it really encourages you and it kind of enlightens like that creative part of you that
mhm,
makes you think outside of the box. And when you have other people kind of like sounding boards to help you expand on your ideas or refine your ideas more, you're going to need that when it comes to starting a podcast or growing a podcast or refining your strategy. You're going to want those sounding boards, and
mhm,
that group was absolutely that for me. And I feel like we're starting to actually finally get to the point where we can create this community and get more people learning from each other. And that's what our members have been doing recently, like more than ever, like actually using each other as tools to learn and grow and figure out like what direction do I actually want to take this. So yeah, that's honestly been like a key thing for me from the very beginning with being
mhm.
in Facebook groups and communities is I've been surprised at where that direction actually goes, like where it takes me.
That's really interesting because if you think about the way in which we can communicate with other people, you have a podcast, and podcast is kind of like it's a one-way type of communication, but it also can still be a two-way type of communication because you can reply back and all of that. But also having a community where you can hop into a Discord channel, for example, and, ask a question and have a conversation with someone and get a real-time answer. It gives you the ability to have a two-way communication, right? It's a two-way street, right? Because you're not just broadcasting a message to people, you're interacting with them and you're having conversations with them. And it helps people feel heard and valued and seen and understood, right? Because at the end of the day, those are the things that we want from the places in which we spend our time. And one of my business mentors, if you will, he says all the time, you're essentially like the product of the five people you spend the most time with, right? And so, who are you surrounding your time with to help you get to and reach those goals, right? Who is helping you stay consistent? Who is helping you grow? Who is helping you show up? Even Emily, something as simple as all of the crafts that you create, like in theory, simple, right? But in actual execution, not. It takes a lot of like, oh, do I really want to do this thing today? Like, oh my God, I have to make 500 more of these, or, I got to do all of these things. It's like, it's like, you need someone to be like, no, but here's why you're doing this. And it's a nice
Yeah.
reminder when you're surrounded by other people.
And I think that something to build off of that with you're the culmination of the people that you spend time with. I think that it's also important when you're looking at those communities, like what kind of tone you want in them.
Mhm.
So joining a group, I have left so many groups, so many communities because people were just using it as an opportunity just to complain. And that
Hmm.
was like all the posts were just complaints and kind of whining or just woe is me. And I know everybody has those moments. Like I have those moments. Sam and Simona have heard the voice notes of those moments a lot. But there's also, like, the flip side of that where we're all sitting there being like, "Listen to this amazing thing that I just did. Listen to this great thing that we have coming out. Listen to this, listen to this, listen to this," where it's
Mhm.
hyping each other up and we're all getting excited for the other person.
Yeah.
Like, even though I don't have as much to, like, touch with the offers that Simona and Sam are, like, building and sending out, I get so excited about them and I'm like, "Oh my god, you guys, that looks so cool." Like, that's what you want. That's what you need.
It's like we're doing
And
this
so
thing.
yeah, we're doing this thing, even though I'm not doing it at all, but you guys are doing this thing that looks amazing.
But those things wouldn't be able to happen if we didn't have the knowledge and like the learning of all the stuff that we've done over the years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can only do so much in a day, in a week, and all of that. And even though you don't directly touch like all of the offers that we create, we can accomplish them because of all of the other things that you bring to the agency. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you can't do it all as one person. Like I'm even sitting here thinking the community, even within our team, like how much just as the three of us have we helped each other, grow and expand and believe in each other and take that next step. And like, very often I'm like, am I doing the right thing? And then you guys are both like, you're fine. Everything is fine. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Okay.
This sounds wonderful. But then you continue on and you grow. But Sam, did you want to add anything to that? I have a question, but I can hold it.
No, you're good. My dog is like shaking the table because he's like scratching himself right next to me. I'm very distracted.
But my question is, so over the last I want to say like the last like year and a half, we've been trying to build out our own community, within Volt Productions. And one of the biggest challenges that I've had is like, where do we host this community, right? In a place that it actually makes sense to host it. And then how do we make sure that each of our clients have their own space as well to ask their questions about the products that they've been in and purchased and whatever. But that's been a big challenge for me, is trying to figure out like, where do we host this community? And I didn't think that it would be that difficult, to be honest with you, but it honestly was. And so what needs to be at the center of everything that you're doing, or like the offer that you have, the membership you're creating, or the community that you're creating, to be able to attract people off of different platforms and like make them not jump necessarily to yours, but like be open to being a part of your community on a different platform that they're used to?
Yeah, I got to pull my social media hat out because
Mm.
I think for me the biggest thing is figuring out where your people in general are going to be. So
Yep.
obviously it's very easy to think, well, I'm on this platform, so everyone else will be on this platform. But it completely depends on your audience and the type of people you're looking to attract or what have you. So obviously we are on Facebook and we definitely have people coming to us on Facebook. However, a lot of people are moving away from Facebook, understandably so. And that's why we have moved things back to Discord because we also know that a lot of people are using that or those types of apps. So at least we have options for people. And I think that's another thing that's really important is having options. You don't want to have too many places because it can get confusing, but that's the biggest thing. One is making sure that you just understand your audience and knowing like where they want to be and where they're comfortable and just kind of and this is a big thing with podcasting and really creatives in general, is kind of getting outside of your own I do it this way, so everyone else does it this way. That almost never is how it goes when it comes to marketing and kind of getting yourself out there. So definitely get out of your own box and try something a little different. That might actually be helpful.
Love that. Emily, thoughts?
I think one of the things is for me, like to join another community, it's like, what am I going to get out of it kind of thing, And also, how will it affect my usual functions? So, like, honestly, being able to be off Facebook is wonderful sometimes because then I'm not like feeling like I have to log into Facebook and I get distracted by like 80 different things because the ADHD is strong and it has a grip on me. And it's like, oh, but while you're in here, instead of posting or instead of doing those things, would you like to instead read this friend of a friend of a friend's post on this other person that you don't know's Facebook page? Would you like that?
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps, can I interest you in that? And my brain is like, yes, please. Okay, great. And then I forget why I'm like in the Facebook app in general. So sometimes I like my Discord groups and stuff like that because it's like, if I'm going there, I know that I'm going there for that group. And I'm like, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go look. I'm going to go check the
Mhm.
notifications. I'm going to go see what the post was that people are posting about their upcoming events, that kind of thing. And then I can get out of it. And I don't have the reels and everything else
Yeah.
to then suck me in
Yeah.
and
No, but it's a
steal
real
my
thing.
productivity away from me.
But it's a real thing. It's a
That is
real
such a good
thing.
point.
Right? No, but it's actually so true. And then it's like, yeah, this happens to me on a daily basis. I try and create content on TikTok and I end up like absorbing the content for 3 hours instead. I'm like, I didn't have 3 hours for this today, but here I am. I will say, so we are live right now as we're doing this. And I see that Tiana has hopped on here live with us today. So I just wanted to shout her out. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining. Tiana has been a Volt Productions client almost since like the beginning. Her podcast is called People Teaching People. So
I
yes.
know that name.
Yes, you do.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I recognize that name.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And we absolutely love her. And she's just so wonderful. And we also have Betty live with us too. And Betty posted a comment and she said, I just joined the group today. I love the podcast. It's been helpful. And that's amazing to hear, Betty. So thank you so much for saying that because we put like a lot of thoughts and effort into the show in and of itself. Like, how can we create content that podcasters will actually find valuable, that creators will find valuable? There's so much stuff that you can listen and consume. And so I really appreciate hearing that, because again, we don't always get to hear from our listeners, right? We don't always get to hear how the content that we create impacts, even in a community, right? There's a lot of people that will sit and they'll kind of lurk from the sidelines and they don't really join in. They don't really say anything, but it doesn't mean that they're not there and they're not watching. And so I think that's another important piece too. Like, even if you think that you're not making an impact, you are. People might not tell you all the time, but you always are. But I will say, as we start to like round out our conversation today, for podcasters specifically, what would you suggest as some tips if people are wanting to build a community around their podcast? Sam, I know you'll have a lot of great ideas for this, not to put you on the spot or anything. Just so you all know, we don't prep questions for this. I just ask whatever I feel like asking.
No, I had no idea. Well, you have to ask your people what they want. And this is something that everyone forgets to do. And I know
Mhm.
it's intimidating, but show up on social media, on your email list, wherever your current audience is. I don't care if it's just your family and friends right now. Like, they're all you have for an audience because you're just building something from scratch. You're not a creator yet. You're not on Instagram yet. Ask the audience you currently have and get their feedback. As far as building a community, where can you connect with people? Where's the best place for that to happen? Serving your people is one of the best places to start. And it's also one of the most overlooked, especially for podcasters, because again, you are thinking about talking to a mic or talking to a camera. You're not thinking about the people you're talking to. You're just hoping people listen. And that's why community is so important, because you're building more than that. You're building relationships. So that's where I would start first and foremost, is just asking people where they want to meet you at.
Love that. I love that. And that's a big thing as well. So as you're saying that, let me pose the question to our listeners today, to those who are in our Facebook group today. We have moved all of our product-based community, so people who've purchased a product from us, who are in our membership, purchase a digital product, or part of the Volt Productions like management or launch clients, that whole community, we moved over to Discord. And also, we have a community on Facebook that we have started. We have a group of about 50 people on Facebook who are watching this live through here today. So if you can either answer, if you're watching the replay, put down in the comments below, would you be mad at us if we moved our community over to Discord? And if it's not a platform that you use, we just want to know, because it's hard to manage a community in two places and we want the community to be super valuable. But again, want to be able to meet our audience where you're at. So I think that's a really important piece. And then I'll add to this a tiny little bit too, Sam. In terms of creating a community, you have to create a feeling of belonging, a feeling like people are part of something bigger than them, creating a safe space for people to bring their questions without judgment and without fear or worry or shame around it. Because it sounds silly to say, oh, shame in podcasting, but some people are like, I'm scared to be seen on video. Right. So how do we help each other and how do we support each other through something like that? Right. That's really important. But
Yeah.
can you create a space where people get
Mhm.
the encouragement and the excitement and, the belief in themselves to show up in that way? So that's a really, I think, important piece too. You want to add?
Definitely, definitely. No, you saying that was just it's so huge. It's everyone's at a different place in their journey. Everyone has different confidence levels, and podcasting is no different than any other kind of media. Especially if you're new to it, it's okay to have cold feet. It's okay to not know what you're doing. It is okay to be a beginner. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's exactly why we're here. We're here to help everyone at every stage of their journey in podcasting. You don't have to be an expert or have had your podcast for a while to come ask for help from us. I don't care if it's wondering how to manage your social media or how to do your launch or how to edit something. We're here to help you figure that out.
Love that. Emily, did you want to add anything?
Girl, I forgot what the original question was.
Me
I'm
too.
not gonna lie.
Wait, hold on. The question was, what should advice?
This is the problem. I have the little dashboard open, so I've been seeing like Betty and Tiana commenting. I'm like, oh, look at that. And then I'm like,
Wait, what was the question?
I had a response, I swear.
Oh my God, you're so funny. The question was advice for podcasters to create a community with
Oh,
their
yeah.
show or within what their
I got
business or
you.
whatever that they're creating.
I got you now. Well, first of all, like I love the whole asking your community. With that, there needs to be the caveat of you need to be open for their responses. Like, even if it's something you don't like, if it's something that they're telling you you need to change and you don't really want to change it, you need to listen to them, because it's like It's kind of like when people say sorry for doing something and then they continue to do the bad behavior, then why did you say sorry to me at all? So like, why did you ask me, over and over again if this is something I like? And then you continue to do the thing that we've all told you, no, don't do that, please. Ask the questions, but then also take action from those responses. Like take that into consideration. And then also, I think that some of it is, it's exactly that. It's the reciprocal response. So you asking questions, stuff like that, when people answer you, responding back to them is great. But then when other people post stuff, it's also just going out of your way to make sure that you're interacting with that too. So if you're trying to create a community, it's great for you to be talking to your community, but then when your community is talking amongst themselves, you need to be involved in that conversation as well. You don't need to be overtaking the conversation because ultimately the community should be able to like bolster itself and they should be feeding off of each other and everything like that. Like that's what we want. We want that open dialogue between the members. But you may have to help that along, especially in the beginning. You may have to like be one of the first people to comment on stuff in order to get that ball rolling. So just like be ready for that kind of commitment, I think, if you're trying to build a community.
I love that. I love that. And I think this is a perfect place to sort of wrap up our conversation today. And I will add this caveat in that we also have a membership community. Look at us go. Look at us go. We have a community to support you. We are ready and we are very excited to support you. It's called Podcast Success Vault. You can find the link for that in the episode notes below. Please feel free to join us. We have weekly office hours every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And on those calls, they're super fun. People can come in, you can ask your questions. We have anywhere between, 3 to 6 to 7, 8 people on at any given time. You can come ask your questions, get clarity on anything that you're working on, whether it's launching, growing, monetizing, closing a brand deal, or just getting the mic out of the box. It's a very supportive community for wherever you are in your podcast journey. And on top of that, you get access to our entire resource bank of every single type of resource we've ever created to help you in all of those phases of your podcast. Ladies, any final thoughts before we sign off for today?
Just don't be afraid to get started. And when it comes to community and when it comes to building something, I know it can be intimidating, but the first step is literally taking the first step.
I love that. And I will add this in too. We have so many times like started, stopped, started the community, stopped the community, started the community, stopped the community. I'm like, okay, Facebook. Okay, let's move to Discord. Okay, let's move from Discord back to Facebook. And you know what? Should we move that much? Probably not. Is it something that we did? Yeah. But are we still going to continue showing up? Yes, we are. You know what I mean? And it's just, it is what it is. Sometimes you have growing pains. We're very much a firm believer of like done is better than perfect. And we will continue to figure it out as we go, as we grow. So, Emily, feel free to add in because I think I cut you off before. Sorry.
Sorry. No, all I was gonna say is that my final thought is that I cannot wait to hear from everybody in our community. Like, I want to get to know our community better
I
because I
know.
don't have as many like interactions with everybody as you guys do. And so, like, I want to hear from everybody.
But it's so true though, because even from like an editing point of view, so I will say this again, like Emily, you do the majority of the editing within the agency. I'd say like 95% of the editing. Like if people have editing questions, ask you. If they have software questions, ask you. Sam, people have social media questions, growth questions, all that, like ask, you know what I mean? So join our
Mhm.
community. The link is below. We have a free community and we also have our paid community. And if you're watching the replay of this on in our Facebook group, please post any questions that you may have. We will answer them after the fact and go into the comments and reply. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. What do you think, ladies?
I
It
think,
was great. Always happy to be here.
Me
yeah.
too. Me too. Thank you so much for being on. And we will see you in a month at the end of the month for our next live. Thank you.